indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Agenda for today was approved by, or was motioned by Brad Waller, seconded by David Whitkin. Passed 5-0. Had conference with labor negotiations and have an announcement to read. During closed session, the board voted to appoint Dr. Tanaz Bruna to the position of Adams Middle School principal. Dr. Bruna will assume the position previously held by Ms. Lisa Beal, who was recently promoted to the Executive Director of Educational Services position. Dr. Bruna will officially assume this new position immediately starting tomorrow. However, her transition to Adams will occur gradually as she continues to work with Toledo staff to ensure a smooth return to students to in-person learning. Dr. Bruna has been serving as the principal of Toledo Elementary School for the past 7 years. Prior, she served as the coordinator of educational services for 2 years. Dr. Bruna came to RBUSD with 7 years of teaching experience in 2008, where she was hired as a teacher at Alta Vista. Dr. Bruna is actually returning to Adams Middle School. Soon after being hired and serving in various leadership roles, Dr. Bruna became a teacher program coordinator for a credit recovery program at Redondo Union High School and a teacher on special assignment at Adams Middle School before becoming the principal of Toledo. Dr. Bruna earned her undergraduate degree in communication studies from Sonoma State University, her master's degree in educational leadership from California Lutheran University, and her doctorate in K-12 leadership from USC. We are fortunate to transition Ms. Jessica Lubes as the interim Toledo principal until the end of the school year. Ms. Lubes has served as coordinator of educational services for the past 2 months. As a resident of the South Bay, Ms. Lubes comes to us with both teaching and administrative experience. She is ready and eager to support Toledo students and staff as we transition students back to in-person learning. More information will come at a later date regarding Dr. Bruna's permanent replacement. Until then, we wish Dr. Bruna continued success in her new position. Congratulations. Okay. Need a motion and a second to approve the minutes for the January 26, 21 board meeting.
Second.
Student advisory vote?
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carrying 5-0. Thank you. All right. We move to reports to the board. We'll start off with Facilitron faculty management presentation by Karina. What's that?
Facility management.
Oh, what did I say?
Faculty.
Faculty, excuse me.
Slight
Can't
difference.
Yeah, facility management presentation, yeah, I need to learn to read. By Karina Fiamengo, facilities coordinator, and Tula Marcio, I believe. Apologize for butchering the name. So.
Am I putting this up?
Sorry, I'm slacking.
That's fine. Are my people?
I will grab her key.
Okay. Hi. Our people are here. I'm just going to kick us off, but really the presentation today is going to be from Karina and Tao. We're really just excited to be looking forward, right? Instead of looking backward, we have a little bit of looking backward, but mostly we're looking forward. And so today, what we're planning to do is to provide you some suggestions and overview about directions that we would like to take the management of our facilities in the future. And I'm just going to remind you a little bit of the past in the last year, the last 11 months. And our facilities have been closed for community and for group use, and that's been a challenge for all kinds of members of our community. We've only had a couple exceptions, and that's been based on the LA County Department of Public Health guidelines that came out in the summer. So we have had some of the fields, park fields at Alta Vista open and the upper tennis courts at the high school, but beyond that, it's been really limited. one of Karina's jobs is to oversee our facility, so she's spent much of the 11 months going from site to site and taking off unauthorized users on the facilities. And while she looks unassuming, she actually is quite strong and forceful when she politely tells people where they're supposed to be and not be. Unfortunately for us, it's also been a loss in revenue, and we've lost about the equivalent of approximately $500,000 in rental revenue. So that's something to keep in mind as you hear the other two presenting these pieces today. So I'm going to clean that for you. Oops. There we are. Yes? Okay.
Good afternoon, board members. So for my part, I'm just going to review general facility use and then the current platform that we use for facility booking right now. So facility users can be broken into two major categories. So we have our internal users, which is essentially anything coming from a school site or the district or any school-connected organization. We consider that internal. External is basically everything else, not school connected. Facilities used depends on the specific school site, but also what level you're looking at. So at elementaries, we may have more of one type of facility being used, and that'll differ from primarily used facilities at the middle schools and the high school. But essentially, everything from fields into classrooms are being used, whether it's by an internal group or an external group. On the right-hand side, you can see that's just the visual display of the district-wide calendar with our current system, School Dude. And basically all the information you get looking at that, I know it's overwhelming, it's a lot district-wide, but you just see the names of each of the events. To get more information beyond that, you have to go in and click on each individual event. The external user's view of the calendar is pretty much the same as ours, just without all the icons, and they get less information shared with them when they click on the events. The right-hand side, that is our place on the platform to display any additional information. So as you can see, we're pretty much limited to just uploading documents. There's no visual displays of facilities or information. So again, our current system that we use is called School Dude. This is used for both our internal and external groups. And there's an approval process for each request that's submitted. And the major limitations that we see with School Dude are due to the kind of how rigid the system is. So we have not really a lot of room for customization or flexibility, and that affects all these different areas. I'll just touch on a few. So for scheduling, it really can make either a lot of work on the user's end, who's trying to submit their facility request, where they may need to submit multiple requests to cover one type of use, or on the back end, we can take on the load of work, and like myself or a site principal can go in and change each individual date, because we want to make sure that we're correctly permitting the use that's actually taking place. And then the other one, or another one I'll touch on, is the sharing of information. So from the user all the way up to me as the final approver, there's steps in between, and there's no real central way for everyone who's involved in that approval process to see the changes that are being made or where the current schedule stands. And then the last one I'll touch on is the reporting capabilities. So whether it's pulling reports to give to the business office for financial information, or just trying to pull information on how our facilities are being used, who's using them. We just don't have a lot of information we can get from the system. And with that, I will pass it off to Teo from Facilitron. Oh, yes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. My name is Teo Marcial. I'm a director of accounts here at Facilitron. I kind of oversee our Southern California operations, so very excited to be here today in person. It's been a while since we've done an in-person board presentation, so if I'm a little rusty, please forgive me. But I'll run through a couple of slides really quickly. Feel free to just stop me if you have questions during the presentation. If we want to ask questions at the end, whatever works best for you guys, please feel free to do. So what a platform like ours would offer, the Facilitron platform, is a district-wide scheduling system. So a very, very clean way for you to see at the school level, okay, who's using their facilities from an internal standpoint to an external standpoint, which then aggregates up to the district, which gives you guys at the district office a lot of visibility as to who is on your campus at all times, okay? It's also a system for receiving and managing community requests, right? So a very, very clean software. You'll see some pictures every time I go through some slides, but that's the view that the community will see. So we come out here, we take pictures, we implement, make some really great pictures and some descriptions of your facility, which make it very, very nice for your renters to come online to a website that's built custom for each one of your schools and your district, and they can go in and request the facility. And then we also have some neat features in there for building automation systems, work order systems, and things like that, which I'll go over here, okay? Why Facilitron? Just really quickly, simple, easy to use, and very scalable, okay? We have a turnkey implementation, which I'll go into a little bit later, as well as training for every single one of your staff members at the district and school level, which is ongoing, right? So as new staff comes in, our team is in person doing trainings if you allow it, or online in Zoom for the time being, okay? As well as customer support, and I'll touch a little bit more on that in a little bit. And then we're very, very feature rich, okay? We don't have additional modules like a lot of the systems have. So everything that we build, we release new features, I would say, on a daily basis. All of those are kind of created and demands from our school district admins, okay? And those are incorporated into the system, and they're just available to you. So you'll never get, a bill from us for any additional features that we put onto the platform. So what Karina was kind of going over before is really, the community side of things, right? And so how does Facilitron benefit that? Again, a little picture on the right side. When your users come on, it's very, very simple to search and request facilities. Number one, based on the location, right? Where do they want to be in the community, the capacity, and real-time availability. What's really nice with an integrated system, right, is that all of your schools put in their schedules into the system, and then the only thing that the renter sees is actual available time. So they're not requesting for times that are no longer available or already approved, okay? We have some neat photos that we take. Like I said, we take some drone shots for outdoor facilities, some cool 360 pictures for indoor facilities. Your pricing is uploaded into that, so every type of user group that comes into the system, nonprofit, for-profit, anything like that, will see what their rates are supposed to be. And the whole idea behind that is to improve user experience and increase the booking success rate. We also have an option to purchase insurance directly through our third-party provider. So if any of your renters do not have insurance, or there's a last-minute event, we've been seeing that a lot lately, they can go onto the system and just purchase insurance through there, okay? And then we also have our customer support team, which is 24/7. They're real Facilitron employee, real people. So if your community members have issues, their internet's down, they need to put in a request, they need to make a payment, insurance problems, they can call our customer support team, okay, and we can assist them. Alrighty. So just on the internal side, which would be really for the district and the schools, we really create this unified district-wide calendar for internal events and also external events. So what you'll see on the right side is what it looks like on our platform. It's a little bit cleaner look and gives you a little bit more information on what's going on and visibility. Obviously, what I went over allows you to really manage your rentals with insurance. We also do all the payment processing, so now your renters are able to pay online by credit card, check. They can still send in a check, an e-check, or send a check through the mail. The customer support, and something that's really neat is also our custom approval processes, okay? And so now, at your high school, for example, you may have certain approvers for your pools and your gyms, right? And so it'll go through their path. Compared to a classroom or a performing arts center, there'd be a different path, okay? So making it a little bit more custom that way. And then a lot of data reporting, okay? So from analytics to drive your cost recovery, right? From cost analysis and what your direct costs are, to your efficiencies and help you shape some policies based on that data that we're generating.
And that is on your right.
Yes, sir.
Is that I assume there's filters where you can filter it by site or see everything or a certain type of use.
Yeah, great question. So right at the top, I know it's a little small there, maybe I can hover the mouse here, but all of these are different filters that allow you to filter by school, right? So you can see your high school, your middle school, or see all your facilities, filter by facility, services, so custodial staff, security, anything like that. So if Karina needs to staff people, you can filter by those services, as well as internal, external, and maintenance. So we also have features for your maintenance team to go in there and block out a gym for the gym reflooring, anything like that. Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. And then my last two slides here are, we are more than a software, so we don't just give you a software and then disappear. First of all, our account setup is totally turnkey, so we grab the data from your system right now, we build everything, we take the pictures, we come here and do meetings with you to make sure everything looks okay, all right? Our account management team, which is the team that I oversee down here in Southern California, you have a dedicated account management team that you have contact information for and who kind of talks to you every day or every week or every month, depending on what your needs are. And that is ongoing, and also giving you some of the best practices for districts in your area and your county. Customer support, which I went over, which is our team that oversees your renters. And then our data analytics team, every single quarter will schedule some meetings with your leadership team and discuss some of the findings. And then lastly here, this is just another slide about our partnership. Our business model is a little bit different, and it aligns our company goals with the district. And so again, it is an all-inclusive partnership, and you get all of the things that are listed over here. And I think that's it. That's what your front little picture would look like. Again, we customize it on per district basis.
So our plan,
I do have a couple questions at the appropriate time.
I'll just one statement and then our plan would be to work with Facilitron to develop a contract that we would then bring forward to the board. Next. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And can you talk a little bit about how the money is covered, both what the district pays for your services?
Sure.
And also the financial transactions that would occur on the website, and particularly related to any fees that would be imposed by Facilitron versus the standard fees that the district has.
Sure. Do you want me? Okay, so yeah, our business model is a little bit different. So the way that there's no licensing fee, okay? So it's a transaction-based model, which means that we take a small commission on every reservation where there's money transacting, okay? Now, that you can pass that off to the renters, you can take that in as a commission from the district, okay? But all of your internal events or outside renter groups that have $0 charges, there's no fee on. So that's about 90% of our platform is about internal use and things like that. And then we take a commission on the transactions, okay? And then in terms of what you were talking about, the transactions, we allow credit card, we allow e-checks, we allow PayPal, and we allow pay by mail. If they do use a credit card, there's a standard processing fee for the credit card that's directly through our credit card management company. And so I can give you that, I believe it's 3%. But there are other options, obviously, to pay that have no fees. That's the only one that has fees attached to it, is the credit card payment, which again is not our fee, it's the credit card processing companies.
So in an instance where a community group, not one that gets free use of the facilities, but a community group transacts business with Facilitron, and let's say they're using an e-check.
Yep.
They are going to pay a fee to Facilitron for that also?
So they are paying the commission depending on how you structure the contract, right? There is no fee we take your board approved rates, we upload those are the fees that populate on the charges, and then they pay based on your board policy. And then depending on how you structure the contract and you'd like to pay our commission, you can either pass it off to the renter, so they would see it as a service fee, or the district can take it in as a commission, where we do all the payment processing, and then at the end of the month, we cut you a check for all of the money we collected for events, minus the commission.
Okay. Have we gone far enough with this, Dr. Alpern, to figure out which way we're going to go?
I have some recommendations. I'll include that in my Friday update.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Oh, and just one other question on the insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to the affordability of that insurance?
Sure, yeah. So it's actually very, very competitive, and if anything, cheaper than most policies we see out there. For a standard event, everything is based on the type of event it is. So football, for example, the insurance is a little bit more expensive compared to somebody that's just using a classroom for some sort of event, right, or a board meeting or anything like that. But the average price for a daily event, it's also based on the number of people at the event, so if there's 1,000 people, obviously the price is a little bit more expensive. But the average price on a daily basis is anywhere from $25 to $30 for the insurance, and then the bigger the reservation is, obviously the price increases, but doesn't just increase 25 every day. I mean, it is it's a little bit, it doesn't just work that way. So we believe it's very competitive, and it's not at all hiked up, so.
And I can
Yeah, go ahead.
chime in too for a second. Typically, all of the users that we are working with, they pretty much all have their own insurance already. They're established organizations that we've worked with in the past, and they know our requirements, so they're already pretty much set up, the users that we typically see.
Well, I very much like that insurance option. Just want to be sure it's affordable.
And I would say, yeah, just going off of what Karina said, I think about 98% of our users have their own insurance document. It's about just about 2 to 3%, I would say, actually purchase insurance.
Although the ones that don't have insurance are the ones that come and complain to us. So it's nice that you have it, because I can tell you I've dealt with that where people say, well, I wanted to do this, but they needed insurance. I can't get that insurance policy in time. So that is really nice if somebody can just, even if it's not the perfect price, they can go and click a button and pay some money and have that insurance.
Yeah,
I
and
think
I'll
that's
just say
best for
maybe the most that would come to us that wouldn't have insurance already are like the after-school enrichment programs, and that may be who you hear from, where it's, they're setting up their own little program and it's not like an official organization. So that's typically the only time I've ever seen somebody not have it.
Well, having used the system School Dude in another life, I am very excited to see a more streamlined, easier approach, as I'm sure you are as well. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
And that
Thank
Mike
you.
asked my other one. I was going to ask about finances, so.
Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
both. Okay, next report to the board, Race and Equity Committee update. Mr. Marvin Brown, Assistant Principal, Redondo Union.
Ready for me? All right.
Don't mind us, just
How are you guys?
We're good.
Nice to see everyone here. All right, I'm going to give a brief update on the Race and Equity Committee. So the purpose of the committee, and I don't know if you guys have seen this before, but some of you have that are in the room. The purpose of the committee is to determine how our school district will challenge and change institutional racial inequities that impact our learning community and students. And really, in summary, that just means we're willing to do the work. We're willing to build relationships with each other within the community. And we're willing to figure out how we can make our district better. So we've had a few meetings. We've had 3 meetings thus far. Our first meeting was October 7th. What we did the first meeting is we had individual introductions and we discussed the purpose of the committee. We really got to know each other. I think, and I'll talk about this in meeting 3. I think that is important. It's important for us to have relationships and to understand where the reason why we're all here. So the first meeting we focused on that, just getting to know each other. What we learned is we have a very, very well-rounded and ethnically diverse committee. There's general excitement and enthusiasm regarding the future of the committee. And that was the first meeting. So second meeting was November 18th. I discussed a podcast that I was on briefly We discussed the district diversity. So Dr. Keller shared the demographics of our student demographics. We discussed a little bit about our staff within the district. We shared what the district has done thus far with hiring practices and staff training. Dr. Wesley really spent a lot of time talking about what we've done and where we need to go when it comes to hiring practices. And then Lisa Veal, as well as Andrea Bedick, talked a little bit about some staff training that they're doing at Adams in Washington. And what we learned after the second meeting was the committee's eager for action. I talked to Stephen about it after, and we felt like that was clear. I mean, everybody wants, and Raymer was there, Nikki was there. Everybody wants to see things happening now. And so we also realized that we need to hear more from students, our student voices, and we had a few students mainly one that spoke on that meeting. And we wanted to acquire more of the committee's expertise. So what we did after meeting number 2 is we developed 4 subcommittees. We broke them into 4 categories: staff training, hiring practices, curriculum enhancements, and campus culture and mentorship. So fortunately, we have an awesome team. And you'll see, this is our committee. We have Lisa Veal and a parent representative leading staff training. We have Dr. Wesley and a Toledo parent leading hiring practices. We have Dr. Wilds and an Adams parent leading curriculum. And then we have Dr. Toronto and an RUHS student leading campus culture. And so we have great people, and that's what's going to make this work. Is when you look at the RBUSD team that's leading each of these subcommittees, we put a lot of faith in them, and you guys understand when you see those names, you guys know what they represent, and I think that's what makes this all work. So, meeting 3, we had each subcommittee share needs assessment. So we gave the members a choice, and we gave them an option to choose which subcommittee they wanted to be on. And when we did that, we sent out a needs assessment, which just was questions that we asked them to basically figure out where we need to go in the district, and they gave us specific comments. Each subcommittee leader handled it a little differently. Some of them sent the needs assessment out individually, and they filled it out. Some of them talked about it prior to the meeting. But we got valuable feedback, and each subcommittee was able to spend time sharing that feedback in our 3rd meeting. We learned that there's areas of growth, and we learned that the work ahead can be shared by members within each subcommittee. So we have 2 more meetings. We have our 4th meeting is March 17th. We plan to have Dr. Darren Early guest speak. I'm sure some of you guys have heard his name. He's spoken a few times at the high school. He spoke with our staff. He also spoke to he's going to be speaking to our leadership team. And he spoke to PTSA at an event not too long ago. So he's phenomenal. We're excited to have him. He's going to guest speak, and then the subcommittees are going to share some goals and recommendations based on their needs assessment. And then our 5th meeting, we want to take those goals and we want to determine what can be achieved and discuss next steps. So that is a brief summary of where we're at. Do you guys have any questions?
No, just thank you for leading it. Raymer and I have both been part of it.
Yeah.
It's been
Yep.
It's been very educational and very helpful, and I think we had a meeting earlier today, the subcommittee, and so I feel like we're making progress and continuing the conversation. So, but thank you for taking
Sure.
the lead on it.
Thanks.
Yeah. Mike's not on.
District-wide, yeah, district-wide. And then at the end of this year, we're going to then separate into sites. So each site will have their own, I keep using the word subcommittee, but each site will have a committee, a smaller committee, that actually takes the lead and works on the sites. And we're going to lean on PTSA a lot for that. And they're willing to help us with that.
I think the piece that, and again, thanks to Mr. Brown, he's leading this as well as anybody can. And you've got 30-some odd people in that group, and so it's an eager group. But we really, we talked about this extensively from the beginning, is we want some deliverables. And I think the subcommittee groups, and we're narrowing it down, and we had our subcommittee meeting, as Brad was sharing earlier today, as we're just trying to narrow it down to 3 things we feel confident that we as a subcommittee hiring practices can deliver next year. And our goal is let's say we have 12 deliverables for next year. If we get to 10 and not all 12, that's a success. And so our goal is to kind of aim high, but limit it to three pieces that each committee believes that we can implement next year. And obviously, we look at this committee as continuing on. We have, our last meeting coming up, but I think the group, for the most part, wants to return, and we're happy to have them.
I guess the only thing that's disappointing to me is what you just said. It's going to continue on, but I'm not going to be on board to see those conclusions. I'm not going to be here for that report, at least not here.
Right.
Well, you just keep watching, because I don't think that committee is going anywhere, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's an ongoing, I don't think there'll ever be a time for it to be finished,
Yeah.
if you will. It's more of a,
And just one last thing, this is not related to this. I have a 4th grade student and a 2nd grade student. I shared this with Stephen earlier this week. So my 2nd grade student's at Burrell, and I just wanted to thank you guys for reopening schools. I'm sure you guys have heard lots of happiness. But I told Stephen, my son, when I picked him up, he said something which was awesome. He said, I said, "How was it, man?" And he's like, he said, "It was better than I thought it was going to be." And it just kind of summed up like his day, right? So, because he was, it's not that he was worried about his mask or anything, but, when your 2nd grader tells you that, it's a blessing, right? It just makes you feel good. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so now you guys get me live in stereo. Apparently, my microphone's going in and out, so I'm using 2. Lucky all of you. Next up, Charles Stearman.
All right, hello everyone. So I hope you're all doing well. So last week, the RUHS ASB collaborated with an organization called Waterworks to send out water filters to families who can't afford them in Uganda. The students' role was to create digital, personalized pictures that would be put on each of the water filters to add a personal touch to the filters for the families. We have also been working on creating our spring calendar of events, which includes homecoming and community week, 2nd semester of clubs, and events for our seniors. All of these events will be held virtually and comply with the social distancing measures set forth by the LADPH. Are there any questions about that? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Charles. Superintendent report, Dr. Keller.
Nice to see Charles. And Derek, while you're up there, before I introduce somebody, can you just set up it should say TK2 somewhere? Yep. Thank you very much. Thanks. Yeah, I don't have my glasses. So first of all, I wanted to introduce Miss Lisa Ville. Some of us remember her as principal at Bernie, and also many of us know her as former principal at Adams Middle School. And now she is the executive director of educational services. So congratulations to Lisa. So Ms. Ville wanted to say hello. Ms. Ville, take it away, please.
I did, thank you. Well, good evening, President Serkin, members of the board, Dr. Keller, and members of the cabinet. Thanks for letting me be here tonight. So I want to start by saying that it was an honor and a privilege to serve the Adams and Bernie schools. They're both unique and special in their own ways, and I'm truly appreciative to have not only been a part of their school communities, but be able to act as their leader. I joined the RBUSD family, as you guys know, 10 years ago, and at that opportunity, I was so grateful and so appreciative of the opportunity, and the feelings are the same today. Thank you so much for this opportunity and for placing your trust in me. I will be transitioning slowly, as you guys know, to my new position, but I look forward to working with Susan and the team in educational services, and then serving our community on a larger scale. So thank you again for your trust, and thank you again for this opportunity. And then lastly, can't wait to start getting going with everyone and working in their services. So Thank you again.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Ms. Phil.
Thank
Well
you.
deserved.
Thank you.
And so continuing on, want to, of course, acknowledge the fact that the board approved earlier Dr. Bruna going to Adams and Ms. Lubes, who will be our interim principal at Toledo, a very fine school, as we know. Wanted to just kind of follow up, Mr. Brown shared, it was better than I thought it was going to be. I think you're going to see from these pictures that last Monday for Cohort A and Wednesday for Cohort B coming back was a special week, and we continue this week. And so wanted to just be very brief in my highlights. This was actually the first 2 pictures I took on my morning as I did my rounds on that Monday morning. One was the teacher had a little classroom set up outside at Madison. I thought it was clever. These are just 2 quick pictures of mine. And then a teacher with her little picture to guide the students to her classroom, which on the ground. So that was actually on the ground, followed my picture to the classroom. Just little nuances. I loved them. They're unique, and what makes Redondo so great. Just our teachers are part of a team, but obviously improvise appropriately and what's best for kids. And so I have a quote from each school. I just asked the principal, give us a sweet little quote. We're going to take one picture that you think embodies the day. And so what you have here is, and you won't necessarily see the principal in the picture, but as we know every year, Mr. Winkler always wants to be in the picture, so he's going to be in the picture. He loves being in pictures. I don't know what it is. Okay, but Alta Vista, Miss Karen Sato, our new principal there, doing a great job, by the way. Nothing beats the real thing, and of course, that's having kids back. Here we go to, of course, Burrell students ready, willing, and able, rocking their first day back. Everybody with their mask. And then from Ms. Pascarone at Bernie, the first week of in-person instruction has been full of eye smiles, I love that, laughter, and a sense of community unlike any other year. At, there we go, Jefferson, of course. Jeff at Jefferson, we are all smiles at Jefferson under our mask. And so plenty of feet apart. That almost looks like 12 feet apart. Okay, so this is a pop quiz. I'm going to throw this to Brad Sirkin. Brad, what do you, forget the kids in the picture. What do you see in that picture?
The roof?
The roof. This is Brad. This is a little, it's funny. When you see pictures, you see the beauty and everything, but we got to spray down. If the rain doesn't take away that ugly looking roof, we got to spray that down a little. But Lincoln teachers show their excellence by making the ordinary return to school an extraordinary experience for their students, and that's Ms. Nakayama. And of course the teachers, and you saw that on the first week, routines. It was so weird seeing teachers do routines in February. And obviously what they've integrated in the routine is the social distancing piece, the mask, the hand hygiene, everything. So it was just added elements to it. But our teachers were fierce about it. And I think, fierce as soft as you can say that word, but they were intentional in those routines this year. Hand it to them. Great job. And then Dr. Heather Cash, Mrs. Bonatati's kinders love morning exercise. You can see it kind of takes you a second to see the movement. They're joyous, infectious. Madison families and staff are, of course, happy to be together again. So that's a great picture of movement within inside the class. Hopefully, everybody's safe. And then over at Toledo, I love the blowhorn in the picture. It's just school's in session when principals have their walkie-talkies on them and you see a blowhorn. That to me is elementary school at its finest. Nothing beats the sound of voices back on campus. And that's, on the first day, some of us saw anywhere from 3 kids in a class to, 10 essentially for the in-person experience. But I'd say on average, the first, at least the 2 cohorts that we were kind of figuring out together, probably about 7 to 8 in person on average. And obviously we're keeping an eye on all those numbers. And then Dr. Galan at Washington, who's the interim principal there, says, as we reflect on the past week, we didn't just survive, but we all thrived with a great deal of grace, passion, and laughter. And as you can see there, our kids having a good time. And so just wanted to say thank you to our entire staff. It was a great, not only a great week this week as well, and we're continuing forward with this excitement of having kids back in person. On campuses. And so I'm going to continue on with several comments, but wanted to just remind parents, whenever I can, to go to our RBUSD website. It contains all the information you need regarding reopening, safety, instruction, YouTube channel, access, you name it, it's all there. Parents, go to our website. When in doubt, please reach out to your teacher or your principal as you're returning. They have sometimes nuanced information at a school site, and we obviously want to make sure we're giving them the detailed information as to their school site and their site protocols, although there is obviously consistency between our sites, but just they happen to have the best information in front of them. Just want to also share that my team and I work very closely with LA County Department of Public Health. We follow all protocols when there is a reported case, a confirmed case, any situation that it has anything to do with COVID. We follow the LA County Department of Public Health guidelines. We don't fall in the gray. We don't wing it. We don't fall, kind of get in a group of 5 and make a decision. We follow the script. If we don't have the answer, we call the LA County Department of Public Health because we have connections there. We have direct contact. And so I just want all parents to know we really take this very seriously. We've had some parents, ask us to live a little more in the gray. We're following the script. And we just want people to respect that. And we also remind our parents to follow the script as well, meaning parents and staff. In other words, what you do at home comes on our campuses. I've said this multiple times, following all guidance that LA County Department of Public Health provides. Please follow it. We're all in this together, and this synergistic relationship cannot be compromised. And then vaccines. Vaccines is the topic that keeps coming up. Just when you thought it was getting a little boring and we weren't hearing much, I received a call today, so I'm gonna manage your expectations a little, but I spoke to Tom Backley, who's the CEO of Beach Cities Health District, and they're receiving news that Beach Cities Health District will assist with the distribution of the vaccine I want to say some, I'm just going to say some, but to South Bay districts, Beach Cities districts, obviously. People have a different definition of South Bay, so that's why I'm saying some. South Bay has many meanings, so I want to be respectful there. And this is per Los Angeles County. So the good news is we're hearing and seeing the Beach Cities Health District is going to be an actual, facilitator of this vaccine process, and we couldn't be more excited, and just to make that clear. We don't have all the information yet, but we do understand they are on a list, unbeknownst to some. It's great news, whether you knew about it or didn't know about it. And so just want to note that. And so what we're doing, what we did today is we sent out a survey. Dr. Wesley took the lead on this. We took a survey, sent a survey to staff just to find out where they're at on taking the vaccine. And we're gathering that information to ensure we're giving Beach Cities Health District the best and most up-to-date information regarding who will actually take the vaccine. Want to remind folks that we've had 6 Beach Cities Health District meetings regarding the vaccine, where we've had experts speak and provide information to our staff. And then also wanted to share that we've made other efforts. I know Brad Serkin and other board presidents have been working with Janice Hahn's office to secure the vaccine. We've worked with LA County Department of Public Health. We've written our own letter to Janice Hahn. I know we have board members working with our local governmental officials. We reached out to the COO of Exeter Urgent Care to see what they could provide us, working with Providence to secure the vaccine. The moral of the story is we've done a lot to try to secure the vaccine. I know sometimes people think it's just, a lot easier than perhaps they really understand, but we are doing everything we can to fight to get that vaccine in our staff members' arms. And then I think that's about it for today. I thought I had another. Oh, the other note is we are going to bring back to you at the next board meeting information about our PARS early retirement information. Thank you.
Thank you. So I was going to suggest that we move our discussion 14.1 forward, as Mr. Baker has come upstairs. I would thought we would do one public comment and then jump back to the discussion on the reopening for third grade to keep in continuity unless anyone has any objections. All right, so hearing none, I will read. We have 3 speakers coming to speak. Mr. Baker will be first, but I will first read. Members of the audience may address the board on any topic regardless of whether it's listed on the agenda. However, due to Brown Act regulations, the board cannot engage in public discussion on items not on the agenda. Topics not on the agenda which are brought to the board's attention may be investigated by the administration and a report made to the board either publicly or privately at a future meeting. Comments from the visitors shall not exceed 3 minutes unless the time limit is waived by a majority of the board. The board shall limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation depending on the topic and number of persons wishing to be heard. Mr. Baker, if you'd like to come forward to the mic.
Hello.
Hello.
I am a frustrated parent. I'm here to find out if someone can tell me without passing the buck or speaking in platitudes why my daughter's not in school yet.
As I just read, we are unable to answer you back, unfortunately.
Okay. Are you legally obligated to follow the county guidelines? Or do you choose to follow the county
Can I answer?
guidelines?
I mean, we are required to follow county guidelines, yes.
So you can't divert from those at all?
Correct.
That's the law for the state? That's the law for Redondo Beach?
That is the law for the state. I mean,
Okay.
I'm walking a very fine line because I'm not supposed to be responding to these questions to you, but I will tell you,
Yeah, 'cause
we're bound by.
I looked at the CDC guidelines.
I
Have you
understand.
seen the CDC guidelines?
I have, but
Okay.
the state is our.
I've seen numerous states that are open with all their kids in school playing sports, and I don't hear any death rates going through the roof with them. Okay, I look out my window, I live down the south end of Redondo Beach, I see 15, 20 kids out at a time on their e-bikes. I see 200, 300 kids down at the beach a few weeks ago when we had the heat wave. But they can't go to school? You know, my daughter sits staring at a screen. I sat through some of her classes, and they're pretty piss poor. And I was a teacher. And she's bored out of her mind. She's too young. She can't get out. She can't drive. She doesn't have an e-bike. So she sees her friends maybe once or twice a week. Now, you got rates in some school districts in the country, the suicide rates are higher than the COVID rate. And I'm wondering why. Is it a lack of will? I know it's not a lack of funding. I'm listening to people looking at a facilitron. Streamline your process. Isn't that somebody's job in this district to do that? We had a guy who did that. He was called a janitor. You know, I've been sitting back for months waiting for something to happen. And I'm not seeing much. And it's pretty goddamn pathetic. And am I the first one to come up and do this? That's a yes, no question.
Again, we're not legally allowed to respond to you in this public comment forum. I mean, I've given you more than I really am legally allowed to do. The best thing I suggest is that you speak with the state.
No answer is the good answer.
Okay.
Superintendent, I read an article somewhere that says that you make $350,000 a year. And with that salary, you haven't been able to pull this together yet? You know, I taught for a few years, and I quit. You know why I quit? Because the administration was pathetic. It was a disgrace. It wasn't about the kids. It was about getting the kids out. Find a way to get them out of here. We got more kids coming in. Pass them any way you can. It doesn't matter if they're illiterate. Now, in Redondo, I expect something a little different. I expect some action. And I expect somebody to, like, take the reins and make some command decisions. No, I've been mostly self-employed my whole life. So the buck stopped with me. I had to make sure shit got done. What I see in most of the government employees is passing the buck, platitudes, excuses, and things don't get done. And I'm just so disappointed. And there's a lot more of me out there. I'm just one of the guys who just dares to say it. That's it.
Thank you for your time. Have a great day. Okay, let's jump over to 14.1, discussion on reopening of third grade. Dr. Keller?
So let's talk about third grade. My team and I met. We tried to be creative in how we can, Susan will pop that up.
Is that one here, or stop that?
No.
You're down here.
We are going to basically talk about how we can utilize our, and we were going to do this previously, prior to winter break, as you recall. I believe it was with transitional kindergarten, basically bringing back under the vulnerable population piece through LA County Department of Public Health. It'll allow us to bring our third graders back under that language from LA County Department of Public Health. And basically what you see there are students who cannot be met, experience great success, under the virtual instruction platform. And so several districts have utilized this to bring more kids back. We realize that we can do this because we already have our TK2 students back on campus. And the bottom line is we have to be under 25% of the total student enrollment in grades 3 for basically, again, we talked about this at a previous board meeting, so it would be 25% under the vulnerable population for grades 3, 4, and 5. And so what we have here is actually very specific information of how we can bring back third grade, and Dr. Wilds has that information on both of those charts.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Keller.
Sure.
So the question we've been pondering this week is how do we now get our third graders back in? We do know that there is a significant jump in expectations and learning in third grade from out of the primary grades. So under the LA County Department guidelines, we wanted to look at this 25% rule. Because our TK to 2 waiver has now been activated, those students are no longer counted as our 25%. So according to LA County, now we start calculating from scratch again. So let's take a look at Alta Vista, for example. The total population of Alta Vista is 632 students. We no longer have to calculate the K1 and 2 students as part of 25%. So let's look at third grade. Currently, there are 96 third graders enrolled at Alta Vista, and I like to play best case scenario that all 96 would want to come back to start in person. Now, at any one time under the hybrid model, we're not going to have 96 students. We're actually going to have half that. So we're going to have approximately 48 students on campus. Then we have an additional 26 students who are falling under our vulnerable population. Those are our 4th and 5th graders who possibly have an IEP. That we are could be our English language learners. It could be students that we've identified as significantly disengaged. So when you calculate the half of the 96 plus the vulnerable population, you get to 11.7%. So we are clearly under the 25. And you can see all the way down, our 8 schools would be well under the 25% threshold. So with those numbers in mind, we wanted to kind of float out and propose a timeline for you all. So tonight we have the Board of Education meeting where we wanted to bring this forward to you all. We would propose that tomorrow, all elementary principals send our third grade families a form where they would again elect to select what instructional model, option 1 hybrid or option 2 schools PLP. By February 16th, we'd ask all of our third grade families to make that selection. We feel confident our families have had a lot of time to think about this and probably know which way they're going to go. Our elementary schools would cohort notification, so they'd let families know what cohort their student has been assigned to. And again, we have tried very, very hard to ensure that all families stay in the same cohort. February 22nd and 23rd would be asynchronous instructional days for third graders. At that time, our teachers would be in their classrooms and they would be preparing and finalizing lesson planning for the return of our students. We would then ask our students to start back on February 24th. That is a Wednesday, and Wednesday does fall on a Cohort B day, so we're going to start with Cohort B this time, and then Cohort A would start on the following day.
And so if we were to look at doing this, the question, of course, would come up, well, what about 4th and 5th grade? And so we wanted to be very clear on this, at least for now. It's the third grade, we're under the class size reduction numbers, so that's an average class size of 24. And so cohort sizing is much easier. As we know right now, technically it's still on paper. If you look at LA County Department of Public Health, the cohort sizes are 12. But everything we've read and heard, at least in draft form, shows 14. So that even gives us more flexibility. But 4th and 5th grade classes have class sizes We talked with our elementary principals today. We have the numbers, of course, internally, but it's anywhere between 28 and 35-ish for those two grades. So cohorting sizing is problematic, at least for now. As we get to the red tier in our county, obviously this will change, and we're optimistic that will happen sooner rather than later. And then obviously there's a significant jump in California core standards for third grade students, most notably in English, language arts, and math. So getting them back to in-campus instruction, I think we'd all argue is a good thing if the parents are ready for their child to return. And we feel confident that 4th and 5th grade can follow suit as the LA County numbers continue on the downward trend. And then again, this falls under the LA County guidelines. They've been pretty clear, and we believe we are ready. We just would want your, push in that direction.
Well, I mean, as far as where I'm at, my direction would be to proceed, and and just, I think just not, not to beat a dead horse, but there are some of our districts that probably will be able to open 4th and 5th, but we aren't there yet. I mean, at least under the current guidelines. So just reiterating what you've put up there on the slide, but I think returning, I would support returning third grade. Back as soon as possible based on this timeline.
Yeah, I too, I'm happy to see this. We're, incrementally bringing kids back. I think that's the safe way to do it. If the cohort is still 12 or 14, I see the issues for 4th and 5th and beyond. So I see why, we need to maybe, hopefully when we come into the red tier, county loosens things up a little bit. And I would really hope that the county would consider 12th graders before they go to maybe some of the other grades, because that's one group of students in a school as opposed to more kids in a school site. So I am advocating that for the county, but I would hope that they listen.
My comment is, I'm delighted that you're bringing this to us, but in a way I feel like, to put it to use a school metaphor, like this is an A, but I want it to be an A+. Why does it take 2 weeks? If we're ready, why does it take 2 weeks to bring the first kid back when they've been out for a year?
Totally.
Maybe that next Wednesday.
We get it. We just made promises to families. So we told them at the time that way back in, gosh, if we can even remember back to August, we promised our families that we would give them time to give notice and that they could make a selection.
But if we notify them tomorrow, they're ready to make a selection,
Yeah.
as you said.
Absolutely. And we
So
also want to
they
give
have-
our teachers time to get back, and many of them have been at home. We want to give them time to have notice, to plan. Our IT department has been amazing going in to helping our teachers set up their monitors, and so that just takes a little bit of time too.
I'm just trying to prove a point in a way. This is great news, but sooner the better, in my opinion.
I think it's a very small step in the right direction. I still hope that we can figure out a way to get the secondaries back, because they're suffering badly right now too, but very small step in the right direction. I'm supportive of it.
And somewhat related to this, I guess, one question is, do we have increased counseling for these kids as they come back, just because it's a transition, it's a shift for them as well? So I know we talked about counselors being on campus all the time, but have we been able to do anything specific for coming back?
To answer your question, yes, we do have language in our MOU with RBT that allows us to have counselors on campus proportional to the amount of students that are on campus. So right now, they're there 1 day a week on a campus.
Thank you.
Well, I'm definitely supportive of bringing back third grade. I do, just to David's question, if we are able to bring back 4th or 5th, will it always follow a 2-week notice? Is that just an expectation for people to know as we move forward? It's about 2 weeks before.
Yeah, the promises we made to families is that we would give them time to notify us, And then again, we want to give our teachers time to move themselves back into the classroom if they've been at home, and give IT time to get in and set them up.
Yeah, there's also childcare issues. I mean, it's not as simple. I mean, it's when I'll liken it to last week when the Governor Newsom opened up restaurants. Yeah, no one opened right the same day. They all needed a few days to get their food and get everything done. I think, I mean, if we want to accelerate that timetable and give people a horizon, I think that's an opportunity. But right now, we know we can't do beyond third grade unless the county changes the guidelines. So to that extent, since we promised them, I don't, next week's a 4-day week. So, I mean, it's, it's really not as many days as we think it is. So, and understand every day matters, but,
Like, just make a request, which is if and when it is time to consider reopening for 4th and 5th or 6th or higher, you don't have to wait for a scheduled board meeting. I'd rather, we had an emergency board meeting to delay opening. We can certainly have emergency board meetings to reopen quicker, and I would support doing that and getting kids back in class.
No, I would agree. I mean, being that we just opened last week, we thought this was an appropriate timetable to bring it back, so.
Sure. Got it.
But yeah, I have no problem calling a meeting to do so. Thank you, Dr. Wells. Thank you, Dr. Keller.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to jump right back to the hearing section. The next one I have on the list is Sarah Robinson.
Good afternoon, Dr. Keller, board members. I am here to speak to the agenda item of the second reading of the change in the board policy to the minimum graduation requirement. My name is Sarah Robinson. I'm RBTA Vice President, Bargaining Chair, Department Chair for the RUHS Department of World Languages and Cultures. And I'm here on behalf of RBTA to express our support for the change to board policy, making permanent the minimum graduation requirement of 220 credits, because we want to support as many students as possible in achieving their goal of graduation. For those students who are only 10 credits off the pace, we agree that this change could be very beneficial in helping them meet their goals. We also want to acknowledge our support of the outstanding variety of electives that are offered and the talented educators who teach those courses. Lowering this minimum requirement should in no way be seen as a reason for discouraging students from pursuing elective coursework or for reducing or eliminating courses offered at RUHS, Patricia Dreisler, Adams, or Paris. Thank you.
Thank you. Got a second job, Derek? Yep. All right, next written request, Candace Nafisi.
Good afternoon, Honorable School Board and staff. My name is Candace Nafisi. I'm a parent to 2 children, a kinder and a 3rd grader. I want to extend my heartfelt thank you for sending our kinders back to school last week. It's been a week. Our teachers have been nothing short of amazing. My kinder teacher has already shown that she has unbelievable resilience, and my little guy is so happy, so we're really grateful for it. I want to also share that I'm very supportive of your efforts to have 3rd grade return for in-person. It's time. And I really believe that 3rd graders, in addition to the rest of our elementary grades, it's really important for them to come back for their social emotional health. You hear what's going on around us, and it's getting a little scary out there. So I ask you to act as soon as possible to get the 3rd graders back and the other grades back as soon as possible. I also wanted to address the reopening think tank committee membership. While it's comprised of several members from the administration and members of our community, it's still missing one important component, and that's the parent voice. The parent voice is a powerful one that I know many of you guys value. So by not including parents whose sole responsibility to lift the parent voice up to the district, you're missing a key opportunity to listen to parent concerns. Your lack of action to include parents on this committee has resulted in parents who are committed to organizing rallies and protests. And that's pretty much the fact of why people feel like they need to speak up and do more. So with all due respect, don't be surprised when people organize and have an effort to have you listen, because this is the only way that they feel like they can uplift their voice. Be the district that bridges the parent concerns. Be the district that puts themselves in an uncomfortable situation to hear the things they don't want to hear. People will respect you for that, parents will respect you for that, and we'll grow from it. The ask is really simple. Please consider adding 3 members who are parents that serve no other role on the community to the reopening think tank. It would be great to have 1 from elementary, 1 from middle school, and 1 from high school. Lastly, please also consider hosting another town hall to inform our parents of the next steps of the district's efforts in answering questions. There's no one way that's important to connect with parents, so I hope that you guys consider these opportunities to share with parents what the next steps look like. People are ready for information and open to it, and I hope you take all of these recommendations under consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So we have a bunch of advanced written requests, or not, I'm sorry, advanced public comment. And then, so I've done some consolidation of some of them as we have 34 of them. A lot of them are saying almost exactly the same thing, or, or we're cut and paste. So I'm going to do my best to try to consolidate them as best as possible. Most of them are redundant in the sense of direction we've given, but as they are public submitted comments, we will read them. Public comment number 1. Dear Board of Education members, I'm a parent of 2 boys at Madison Elementary. I have not said much because of many other parents have been speaking up, and obviously your hands are tied due to the guidelines and regulations placed by LA County Department of Health. However, after 1 year, we cannot wait 1 more day to open up in a safe manner that we know exists. My kids were at the CDC all summer and through winter. We know kids pose a very low risk and know 6 feet apart, good hand washing and other safety precautions can work and allow our kiddos to remain in school, in person, and attend. What upsets me the most is that all the teachers think this is working online, but what they don't see is what's happening during the day and after. Kids do not want to engage or complete homework after staring at a computer for hours, even with breaks. The desire to learn and succeed is sadly failing. Depression and anxiety has set in. My kids get good grades and do well in school, but if you were to ask them, they would say that they do not do that well because they cannot really gauge how the teacher feels about their work. I often see my son afraid to speak up and ask questions because he's afraid his peers will make fun of him. Once our leaders give the green light to open, what is it? Less than 25 cases per 100K residents. I hope that RBUSD will move quickly and swiftly to allow kids back in the classroom. I also feel that 2 hours is not enough. Who set the time on this? Is there a mandate from the state as well? I realize they control the student to teacher ratio, but what about the length of time our kids are in school? Please be transparent with parents and let them know what the next steps are. I have no problem with bringing back my 3rd grader in person for the hybrid platform. He wants to go back, and that in and of itself is all you need to know. Our kids have suffered more than I think you all realize. Let's not hold them back 1 minute more. Thank you. George Drexinger. Number 2, I am in support of returning to elementary in all grades. I understand that a phased approach may have advantages, but this phase should be done with limited time in between the intention of getting kids back in school. We should not wait a month between grades. RBUSD has resources and protocol for teachers, staff to be safe. Reopen, Kaiwi Piper. Public comment 3, and I'm going to read basically the gist of it. We need to get all of our kids back to school. Nicole Lincoln, Eudarchus Govia, Susan Roberts, Robin Smith, Juliana V. Miller, Christina Conway, and Verena Moore. Number 4, I am in support of third in-person return. Number 2 is please consider adding 3 people to reopening think tank to elevate the concerns of parents to this district. Thank you very much for your consideration. Robin Malcolm, Violet Armanino, and Amy Errett. Let's see here, number 6. I'm writing to let you know I'm supportive of the in-person return of third grade under the vulnerable population clause. Please consider this population to return as expeditiously as possible. I have a third grader and distance learning has been challenging. It's very hard for him at this age, for them to sit in front of a computer for so long and focus and try to learn. In addition to the fact that so much of his work on the computer, his writing has suffered amongst other things. He has a great teacher, but I feel like the opportunity to be in person, even part-time, would be invaluable. Christina Rizzoni. Just making sure I don't overlap. Next one, I am writing in support of third grade and all elementary grades to return to campus as soon as possible. It's been proven by the CDC, which has been open for almost a year now, that it can be done with the correct protocols in place. As I've said before, the protocols are in place and schools are ready for the return to school. Students, please allow the families who are ready to return to campus to do so. Diana Sanchez. Let's see here. Please strongly consider a swift return to campus for all other grades. The science has shown it works. We've made it work with CDC since June, and the mental health of our children is so important. We must stop making this a health crisis, a crisis for our children's well-being as well. Melissa Rowe. Dear board members, I'm writing in support of item 14.1, returning third grade in-person hybrid instruction. I'm the parent of 2 second grade twins who have just completed their first week of hybrid instruction at Burl Heights in nearly a year. I was impressed by our school's protocols, procedures, and safety measures, and our teachers are amazing. It took only 1 day of in-person instruction to see my child's joy of school and learning return. The enthusiasm, happiness, laughter, it's like someone flipped a switch. Implore you to return all grades to campus as quickly and as safely as possible. These kids have suffered for far too long. Those who are uncomfortable do have a choice. Lane Ketchmere. Let's see here. Please, please, please send third grade back to school. My daughter Avery needs to be in a classroom setting surrounded by her peers and by her teacher. Thank you, Mary Sweeney. Okay. I have a third grader and a seventh grader in the RBUSD public school system. I am all for getting our kids back in school. They are missing out on so many things that as parents we cannot replicate for them, and it is unhealthy for them to be online learning. The coronavirus in children is not a risk, and it's not much of a risk for myself or my husband, and we are older parents. I'm not afraid of it. In fact, you may not know this, but so many families have their children playing with other kids and have so for months and months. This is going on outside, in homes, in cars, without masks. We are not waiting for our children to interact with others, and this has been a cause of anyone getting sick. Please consider our children and take a stand to get our children back in school. Be brave, follow the science, be for the children, and for those who don't want their children in school, they don't have to send them. Kristen Leach. That one was a duplicate. Let's see here. I am in support of in-person returning to class for third graders. They need the educational support as well as the social interaction. Online school is so hard for them to stay engaged and lack quality interaction that they need. I feel they are not learning the essentials they need to learn to continue their educational development. Please send them back. Heidi Launchbaugh. I am in support of third grade in-person return. Social and emotional component of distance learning has been difficult not only on the kids but for all those involved. After sending my kindergartner last week, his shift was palatable. However, it created a new adversity as my third and fourth graders still remain at home. Kids belong in classroom. The social and emotional skills they learn in classroom settings lead to a healthier future. It's not natural for them to be behind a screen for this extended period of time. Lauren Fry. My son is in third grade and needs to be back in school. I am worried about his emotional well-being since being 100% virtual. He needs social interaction, a teacher who can correct with care, and opportunities to learn from his peers. Please get our older kids back in school. Elizabeth Smith. The relative safety of kids, keeping kids home versus the toll that our mental and emotional well-being of kids being home and away from their teachers and other children while parents work and stress is at an all-time high. We need to heed the data and evidence that the risk of an outbreak is low with the correct agreements in place. and the cost of avoiding any risk in the area comes with a guarantee of harm, especially for those with the greatest need. Keneal Rosenthal. I am a parent of a third grader at Jefferson. I support the return to in-person instruction. Further, I was wondering whether a plan to return to full classroom capacity is being considered, and if so, whether the metrics and benchmarks need to achieve full return. I am worried that the hybrid model becomes dogmatic without considering data collected from schools nationally and globally. With better ventilation systems, on-campus testing, and other safety measures allow for larger class sizes. Specifically at Jefferson, since every class is ground level and doors on both sides could allow for this. I know there are many other factors I might not know about, but appreciate that they be communicated. Thank you, Myra Bader. Please consider opening schools for third graders. Schools provide more than just academic to children, social and emotional skills, exercise, and access to mental health and other support services. As a third grade parent, I'm worried about the social, emotional, and mental health of my child. The harms of keeping children out of school outweighs the risks and safety and carefully managed classrooms. Hundreds of schools and school districts have been able to do this in other parts of the country. Rafaela Saruk. Let's see here. My son is in third grade at Toledo, and he's ready to go back to school. While he's done fine in distance learning, he needs to see his friends and teachers in person. The mental and social benefits of in-person learning are far too important to risk holding off. Now the younger grades have returned safely. It's time to get the older kids as well. Jennifer Westerland. Please have all kids return to school full time. It's been long enough, and as the emotional social damage to the kids and parents are getting worse by the minute. Leticia Machado. I'd like for the third graders to return in person as soon as possible. My third grader has expressed feeling lonely and sad and not seeing their friends, and he feels he's learned way more when he was in classroom. Please allow for them to return. Thank you, Allison Bergman. As a single parent working full-time, I love the idea of returning back to school in person, but what precautions is Alta Vista Elementary taking? How will the kids be taught and kept 6 feet apart? I strongly feel it's too early to allow kids to return. In my opinion, it's better to sacrifice a bit longer staying at home than dealing with the pandemic at school. It's difficult enough keeping kids apart simply walking together. Anna Solano. I am in support of third grade return. Psychological effects that it's having on my daughter is not okay. I'm unable to work because of childcare issues, and she's in the immersion program, but clearly is not immersed at home, so she's losing her fluency. Stacy Farrell. I sincerely think at this point in time, kids, even if in staggered cohorts, should return to school. There are many too important skills children acquire in developmental years that are missing out. Please consider expanding the cohort system to grades 3, 4, and 5. Christopher Velez. 31 is already included. 32, I strongly support the continued expansion of returning to school for later grades now being considered. The lessons learned from across the country and the world is that a person can learn safely, and the board should be driving this objective as its highest priority. There's a pathway for families who prefer to stay at home, but for the vast majority of RBUSD parents, we believe in-person learning is the best interest for our children as a whole. The extended virtual learning experience drives an increase in health issues for our children and diminishes the rigor required to continue to be prepared for their continued education. Please make the pathway to return to school for the higher grades as your top priority. Jens Wessel. Did that one. All right. Last two apparently just came in, so I haven't read them yet, but I feel that the Alta Vista campus is not yet fully prepared to have 3rd to 5th grade return to campus. The municipal rollout of COVID vaccines has not yet reached the majority of local population. I feel an expansion on campus learning is premature at this point in time. Michael Suki. And as this looks like from his wife, this one's, let me double check. Same last name, but I'm writing to advocate support for RBUSD's third graders to return to safe campus for in-class learning. Even hybrid learning is worth it to maintain child's emotional, psychological well-being. BB Suki. And that ends the public comments, written comments that I've received. If there's anyone that has any other items that are not on the agenda, we will hear them later. But we will move to the communication section. RBTA?
Hello, I'm Monica Joyce, President of the Redondo Beach Teachers Association. This past week, our K through second graders returned to in-person instruction. I want to thank everyone who worked so hard to make this happen. A tremendous amount of logistical planning allowed the students and staff to return. Our teachers have put in countless hours of preparation to create lessons for hybrid instruction. This is and will continue to be a tremendous effort. For our schools to have students on site, everyone, students and staff, must follow the safety protocols. If someone is not feeling well, they must stay home. We need to err on the side of caution. We do not want to have any classes to have to quarantine, as happened last week. We continue to urge you to follow the guidelines set forth by the LA County Department of Public Health. We are encouraged that we may soon have access to the vaccine. We need to be given time during our workday to get the vaccine. Those who are actually working on campus should be the first to receive the vaccine. We also need readily accessible testing for the vaccine. We want our students to return to on-site instruction, but only if conditions are safe. Thank you.
Not seeing CSEA or AFT here. Any reports for PTA or RBF that we're reading in? No. Okay, hearing none. Moving on to general consent. I'd like to pull 10.4, but if there's any other items we wish to pull. Hearing none, can I get a motion and second to approve 10.1 to 10.3?
Moved.
It's okay, I got you. Student advisory vote? Aye. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion and second for 10.4, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. One item that I wish to read in or point out specifically on the personnel report. By unanimous vote, the board a bit back approved a 2-year extension for Dr. Keller's contract. The contract itself has no other changes to it other than the 2-year extension that's reflected in the personnel report. So, any questions? Student advisory vote? Aye. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing 5-0. Moving on to action items. Motion and second for 12.1, award to lowest bidder for district office first story and RUHS 500, 700 roofing projects to RR Roofing and Waterproofing.
Second.
Yes, I have, thank you. I've got 2 action items here. They're both connected, and they have to do with the roofing work that needs to be done in the warehouse, just that portion of the district office, and then in the RUHS 500 and 700 buildings. We combined those projects together. So the first 12.1 is an approval to award to the lowest bidder for the labor for those projects. And then for action item 12.2, it is approval for the roofing materials for those same projects.
Great. Questions?
Interesting, the materials cost is more than double the labor.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, especially in this age, everything home related has gone up significantly. So even with our negotiated contracts. So
Right, and it is a piggyback.
yeah. Student advisory vote. Aye. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. 12.2, participation in the CMAS contract for the purchase of roofing materials.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, I think we've covered that. If so, student advisory vote? Aye. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. 12.3, collective bargaining memorandum of understanding between AFT and regarding Safe Schools for All plan. Motion and second.
Second.
Thank you.
This is an MOU agreement with American Federation of Teachers, Local 1475, which represents AFT's review and input of RBUSD's COVID-19 school safety plan. And so we're recommending that the board approve this MOU.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, as this labor, Charles, I will skip you for these. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0, thank you. 12.4, collective bargaining memorandum of understanding with CSEA regarding Safe Schools for All plan.
Second.
This is the same MOU agreement, except for it is with the California School Employees Association, and it represents CSEA's review and input of RBUSD's school safety plan, and staff is recommending that you approve this MOU.
Very good. Any questions? No. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing 5-0. 12.5, approval of the RBUSD school calendar for the 21-22 school year. Motion and second.
So, second.
Thank you.
This calendar is for the 21-22 school year, and it was negotiated with RBTA. RBTA's ratification is still pending, and staff is recommending the board approve this calendar, and upon confirmation from RBTA that it has been ratified and your approval, we will send it out to all staff, our parent community, and post it on our website.
Okay, any questions?
This calendar is the same basic plan. Summer is the same length. We haven't made it any earlier or later than
Correct. This
the plan for this year.
Right. This calendar represents what the calendar for this school year would have been had we not started 5 days later, so not much change.
Okay.
Just a question,
Go for it.
just to understand process. So we'll vote and approve this, but it's pending approval of RBTA, or it
Right.
will then have to be approved by RBTA after we approve it, or how's that, what is the deal?
In order for it to be approved, then both the board and RBTA need to approve it. So RBTA has to ratify it, and the board has to approve it. So if you approve it, then that's part one of it. Once RBTA confirms ratification, then it's approved, and then we can publicize it.
And that's per the MOU, correct?
That's standard in terms of negotiations. The members of the union have to have the opportunity to approve what the negotiation team has negotiated on their behalf. The board also has the authority to approve the calendar or anything that we negotiated before it's finalized.
Okay, so by approving this, it's not unilateral, it's approving pending also acceptance and approval by RBTA.
Correct, because the calendar must be negotiated with the union.
Very well. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Student advisory vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. 12.6, receive for second reading and adoption board policy 6146.1, high school graduation requirements. Motion and second, please.
Moved.
Second.
Okay. Any questions on that? No.
What's up the no.
Well, since Charles, you're a benefit of this, we'll let you vote on this. So, I hear aye from him. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good, 5-0. All right, we did 14.1 already, so moving on to correspondence. Any correspondence anyone wishes to share? Hearing none. Going to board member reports. We'll start with Mr. Whitkin.
None.
Okay, Mr. Christensen.
Next Thursday is our next SoCal Rock board meeting. At that meeting, we will interview and move to the next step of the decision process for selection of the candidates for the 2 at-large board spots. The 3 candidates that have applied are Nancy Cobb, formerly of El Segundo, Bill Fornell, formerly Manhattan Beach, board members, and Anita Averick, former Redondo Beach board. So that'll be happening next Thursday.
3 good candidates.
Yep, that's all I got.
Thank you very much. Mr. Waller?
Other than doing the phone calls with the disaster council and hearing encouraging news for the hospitalizations and ICUs, that's it.
Very good. Ms. Flynn?
Just a heartfelt thanks to Monica, all the teachers and staff that have been working to make it possible to bring our kids back on campus. Thank you, and thank you for our parent community for continuing to be patient and to work with us and following all of our guidelines in getting all of our kids back on campus. Thanks.
So I echo what I was going to say, almost exactly what Raymer was going to say. It's without the staff, we're nothing. So thank you guys. But to our parents, I would say one thing, which is please, if your kids are sick, if you think they're sick, if they, even if they're trying to get out of school for a day, please keep them home. It's, to reiterate how serious it is, if your kid is thought to be sick, that entire classroom gets to spend 10 days in quarantine. So I can't implore you enough. It's, we want your kid back in the classroom, but, to take an entire classroom out on a possibility that your kid may be sick and maybe as a result of this is just, it's tough, it's not fair. And so I would implore you, and, I know everyone's excited to get their kids back. I hope my high schooler will see a campus this year. But we do have rules and regulations we do need to follow, and it's so we're doing our best to get it back. And I promise you, I think you've heard from this board the commitment to getting kids back in school from staff all the way down to including the board. We want it to happen. So, but keep your kid at home if there's any questions. So, future agenda or future events, I should say. Find that page, but I know it's. We're back here in 2 weeks. That one I can tell you for sure.
Is Washington?
Yes, it's Washington's birthday. Here we go. I've got it right here. So, yeah, Monday's a holiday, so please keep your kids at home for sure. The next Tuesday, the 23rd, we will be back here. March 2nd is Election Day. Please mail your ballots in, mail it early, and get it done. And just as a reminder, you can vote for 3 people for a school board. So, and then we're back here the 9th, and for 3 of us, the 23rd will be our last meeting. So, any future agenda items?
President Serkin, if you could consider discussing at your agenda review whether we want to have a discussion about, and I'm glad you made that comment about now that we're moving into the next phase, it's going to be really important that people don't send their kids to school sick, because that could upset the whole apple cart here. My experience in the workplace is that it's about a 90-10 split, 90% in the workplace are paying attention, 10% are not. And it's that 10% that's causing huge problems in the workplace. So if we maybe figure out what would be the consequence of that, I know we had a public comment on that for this meeting. If we could maybe have a chat, think about it, and I'll leave it to your discretion as to whether or not you bring that for a board discussion. But I think this is something we need to put out there to maybe reinforce the statement that you just made.
So I'm not particularly opposed to it. I mean, we can figure out the language or what have you, but between now and then, absolutely. But the only other thing I would say is, just going back to it, is the same rule goes to staff. Please stay home. It's we all follow it here. If we don't feel well, we stay home. So same thing goes for.
And I don't know if you want to benchmark, as the public commenter had suggested, RBUSDs to the process they're using.
Yeah, we can figure that out. So, good suggestion. Hearing nothing else, everyone's favorite time of the day, adjournment. Can I get a motion in a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Student advisory vote? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you all. Good night.